Hey guys, took the dog out for a walk and decided to let her stop and play with her stick right here. Where's the stick? Did you get the stick? Did you get the stick? Anyway, is keto a diet or a way of life? Over the years of doing this and working with people constantly, trying to figure out the best way to explain things, trying to figure out, um, is it a diet? Is it a way of life? Is it something else that that we're not calling it? Whatever it may be. And I often explain to people that it is a diet. If you look at the term diet, it is just a pattern of eating that an animal or human being follows. A diet to people means something that's temporary, so that's why they get emotional about it. They get upset. They want to try to defend their case and don't call it a diet. That just means that it's temporary. Not necessarily. A lion has a specific diet. There are animals that have specific diets, and they follow them, for their entire life. And what struck me tonight was I went over to the house, and my mom wants me. She had a bunch of yard work and stuff that they can't do, and come on, girl, they can't do. So she wanted me to come over and do it. So I got a bunch of the yard work and stuff done, and she says, "Oh, by the way, I'm cooking pork steaks." And I said, "Oh, that's perfect, Mom. I love pork steaks. No problem. I actually prefer pork steaks sometimes over beef because the nutrient density is more potassium per serving." And I'm talking to my mother, and she says, "What kind of vegetables do you want?" I said, "I don't want no vegetables." And she said, "Nah, I really don't want no vegetables either, but I'm going to make some for your father in case he wants some." She says, "I have green beans, I have broccoli, got some cauliflower," and I said, I'm not interested in the vegetables really. Just give me the meat, and the salt, and I'll be all right." And I asked Mom, "How's the diet going?" And Mom, like, instinctively said, "I'm not really on a diet. I'm just eating good food." And I said, "You know what? That makes me happy that you said that. It really, really makes me happy that you said that, for the simple fact that too many people wrap their mind around this approach that this has to be the rest of their life. They wrap their mind around the approach that this is a diet. They wrap their mind around this approach that every single thing has to be tracked because they'll turn back into an addict again. But what I want to simply come to you with is the fact that it changes with the mindset first. It's not so much the food patterns and stuff like that. And my mother has simply realized that she's eating the same foods that she was eating before, except she's just not adding the junk into it. She's not adding in the carbs and sugar and sweeteners and all this other stuff and cakes and pastas. Now, mind you, a family event may pop up, or like, a week ago, you seen me make her taco soup where they wanted red beans involved. My mother understands that these are an occasional thing that cannot happen all the time because you'll end up right back in the same spot that you were before. But she doesn't even think of it as a way of life. She just says, "I just consciously realize that these are the things that are causing problems with me, and I don't even want to call it a diet. I don't want to call it a way of life. I just know I have to do better than what I'm doing." And when you become educated in this matter, you don't even think of it as a category. You just know there are low glycemic foods, there are high glycemic foods, there are refined foods, there are man-made foods, there are things that are just not natural foods. So my mom says this: I'm not on a diet. I just realize I have to eat good food. And good food consists of things that don't mess with my blood sugar, my insulin levels. And if I can wrap my mind around it's not a way of life, I can still have other things if I want them, but it's my choice to engage my health from the best perspective possible. And if I know meat doesn't bother me, low glycemic vegetables don't bother me, I don't have to call it a diet. I don't have to call it a way of life. I can simply think of this as I just like eating like this. It's not anything to me other than eating good quality food. And I think a lot of times we get wrapped up in this mindset that we have to fit into this category, this type, this group, this stigma that society in general, that even the keto groups and stuff are putting out, that you know this is almost a dogmatic approach. When my mother tonight told me I'm not on a diet, I just eat whole food. I just realized now, since you showed me what keto food was, I was already eating those foods, except I was eating bad things with those foods that was causing the problem. So how could I think of this anything more than I was just putting the wrong things in my body instead of the right things in my body? And while I was out doing the yard work, I thought to myself, that's so powerful. So powerful, coming from a woman that's only been doing this a little over 2 months, and she's lost 40 pounds already. And she's looking better and better and better every time I see her. And to see her not even have to think about the conscious decisions on food, she just automatically knows this is what I have to do. When you can get to a point in your life to changing the mindset first, it doesn't have to be a tracking diet. It doesn't have to be a tracking way of life. It doesn't even have to be categorized as anything. Once you figure out what is causing the problem, it's no longer a category, a type, a drop-down menu, select your race or something anymore. It's like trying to decipher between good humans versus bad humans, this color versus that color, this food versus that food. What fits your life and what doesn't fit your life is what's key. The stigmatism in general, and the dogmatic approach from people on you have to fit something, you have to pick one camp, you have to pick one group, you have to pick one type, it's overplayed. And that's the society that we're living in right now. Are you emo? Are you punk? Are you transgender? Are you straight? Who cares about any of that stuff? Just figure out what you like in your life, what path you want to follow in your life, and what makes you feel the best. And you don't have to fit yourself into any kind of category. There's no reason for that. My mother tonight, just in a few words, made me so happy. The fact that all it did was just showing her the foods that would affect her blood sugar and her insulin levels, and then her getting just a little bit of results that turned into a lot of results in a short amount of time. For me to be able to see the success, the happiness in her eyes, the calm nature and stuff that she's dealing with now. When I used to interrupt her while she was watching her shows and stuff, she loves her TV shows, and she would reply with, I'm watching this right now, can we just save this until I'm done? Well, tonight, a few times after watching her move around the kitchen better, after watching her come outside and look at the yard work and stuff that I was doing, and eventually she's probably going to be doing the stuff herself without even calling me, because she looks really good. You can tell her face, her belly area and stuff has got so much smaller. She's moving around better. She's getting up and down faster. She doesn't think of this as a diet. She doesn't think of this as a way of life. She just thinks of this as, look, this is just how I live. This is what makes me feel the best, and this is just what I'm going to do. I don't have to tell anybody that I'm doing this. I don't have to fit into a category. I don't have to ask questions about what I should be eating anymore. I've figured that out in a very, very short amount of time in paying attention to my body, and this is just not a diet. It's not even my way of life. It's just common sense. I've been eating like this. I just need to eliminate the things that cause the problems along with eating like this. How powerful is that when somebody can come to you and say, I just cut out the crap. And it just so happens that when I cut out the crap, processed foods and stuff like that, I'm eating this keto style diet. Isn't it funny when you look at everything in the grand scheme of things that have sugar, carbs, refined this, processed that? When you strip all that stuff out of the way, even when you go to paleo, you strip the starch and stuff out of the way. What do we end up with? Keto. We end up with keto foods, low glycemic foods that probably keep you in a constant state of ketosis all the time. Hopefully a nutritional point value of nutritional state ketosis, and the magic just happens. When you strip everything out and you just go back to low glycemic food, this is what it turns out to be. It's not a diet. It's not even a way of life. It just makes sense. Wrap your mind around that. If you can eat food that just makes sense and not even call it a name, not even call it a way of life, like my mother did, and it's just amazing to hear her story and hear just over the last 2 months of her telling me, I don't think of this as anything. I don't think it's anybody's business what I'm doing, and I don't make a big deal about it. I just sit down and eat my dinner. And when I sit down and eat my dinner, I can be around other people eating low glycemic vegetables and good quality meat. I don't have to explain myself because it only seems normal anyway. People know after dinner or during dinner, you might drink those garbage things, you might eat those processed things afterwards, but if you're sitting down and you're talking, you're networking with them, you're communicating with them, you're having a good time with your family, your friends, you just sit down and eat and enjoy their conversation and their camaraderie. They don't care about what you're eating. They don't care that you're eating a big old juicy pork steak with some broccoli on the side. To them, that's just normal food. What happens afterwards is where the thing takes effect. Are you going to go grab that slice of cheesecake or that carrot cake or grandma's cake? You know what? I'm okay. I'm full right now. I ate enough food, good quality fatty foods. She's not scared of fat anymore. She pulls the butter and stuff out. She salts her food. She said, I'm just living a normal life. I'm just cutting the things out that cause the problem. When you strip all that away, everything away that you didn't have, let's talk about fructose in fruits, and fructose in different types of fruits, and carbs and stuff that are in starchy foods. They don't have potatoes anymore. They don't have rice anymore. They've taken the bread completely out of the house. They have their diet sodas from time to time, but my father used to have one throughout the day. You know, when he was done, an hour, 2 hours later, he was having another one. My dad has the same 2 cases of soda next to the refrigerator right now that's been there for the last month. My father has almost cut the diet sodas down to having none at all during the day. It's just a mindset. It has nothing to do with fitting in a category or thinking that you have to do something for the rest of your life. It has to do with knowing that I have to change. I can eat good quality foods in the process and not label myself as a way of life, a diet, a statistic, a group, a camp, a cult. Just figure out what works. Eat good quality food. That's what it comes down to. And they're doing it. And it just so happens to be keto approved food. They don't have to go back to a list. They don't have to call me up. They don't have to say, is this okay? In 2 months, my mother has figured it out on her own without going online and researching. She quit listening to all the stuff on the news, the Facebook posts, the ads and stuff like that. And she just said, look, I'm sorry that I didn't listen to you before when you wanted to talk to me about keto. It just seemed like the way you were talking about it, you were almost being like not so much pushy, but like it was a rehearsed version of what you want me to do. But when you sat down and you got in the group with everybody and people were sharing what can be eaten and what you shouldn't eat, it almost seemed like it was just a group of people that really cared about each other, that was wanting to share what worked for them. And when you wrote all that down and I could see the stuff that was on there, I knew what not to eat. It was not so much important the things that I can eat, it was the things that I should not be eating. And once I figured that out, I cut the things that I should not be eating out, and all the things that I could eat were just automatically there. They were things that I was already eating. It's powerful. It's really, really powerful that somebody that hasn't researched, that hasn't studied, that they've done none of that stuff, and all they did was just take a second to listen and look at a food group of what is okay, and not really so much focus on what is okay, but focus more on what they should not be eating. And now it's just normal to her. She doesn't think of it as anything. It's just normal. All right, guys. Thank you. I appreciate you. If you're tuning in now, you're probably going to want to go back and watch the video. I apologize. I'm tuning out. I got to finish walking this girl. And